Hi, ajmahari here. Why do people with BPD get together in relationships often, not exclusively, with people with codependency? Why do people with codependency keep often finding people with BPD? And just before I get into this, if you enjoy my work or help by it, resonate with me, and you're not yet subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of all uploads, and please remember to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow in the algorithm. So if the channel's helpful to you, maybe you'd like to hit that like button and subscribe to help the channel in the algorithm so more people like yourself can find this channel. It is the pull, the unconscious pull of the betrayal bond scenario that will happen between anyone with untreated or not well enough to get with BPD and anyone with codependency. Codependency is a formidable mental health challenge. No, they didn't put it as a personality disorder in the DSM, but that doesn't really matter, because one thing you should really know now, if you don't already, is please don't minimize what codependency really is. It's really painful, and it is leading you, maybe in many ways that you still aren't aware of consciously, it's leading you into these situations where then you think that somehow everything that's impossible about a person with borderline personality disorder, all the chaos and drama and tumult and blame and no taking personal responsibility and kind of driving you around the bend that's really happening, you think somehow as a codependent that it's your fault. Because you need to please them, because you need to like make it work. You need to make it happen because, well, you want them so badly, and you are also experiencing unconsciously the want and the pursuing of needs that you didn't get met by a parent or a family member or somewhere in your childhood. For some people, it's major unmet needs with codependency. For some people, not so major or obvious woundedness and unmet needs. But people with codependency, with anxious or avoidant or anxious avoidant, anything but secure attachment styles, at the heart of a lot of this, along with other things in codependency, you really are prone. You've been kind of programmed in childhood to pursue the emotionally unavailable man or woman. And you're not doing that consciously, of course. And then the borderlines, with their lack of self and their arrested emotional development, no matter how smart they are now, no matter, in IQ they have, no matter what they're doing in their lives that way, many of them high functioning in jobs and careers and all of that, but they come home and like, what happens? Who are they then? Because there's a stark difference in the reality of sort of two parts split, the fragmented off inner child who's lost in borderlines to the arrested emotional development by or before the age of 2. So there's like a split false self there, if you will. There's the intelligence that people with BPD can keep accruing as they get older, going forth in life in that realm, and the emotional immaturity and lack of self that permeates pretty much who they are and they aren't at the same time. So it's really important to realize that these relationships, what I don't want to say draws or attracts, but too many people with codependency, to be really honest with you today, a compassionate, gentle, non-judgmental way, I want to say to you, you want to blame the borderline for how the relationship started. You want to blame the borderline for, quote, seducing you, or many men do. This just isn't the way it goes. But you don't know what you're getting into if you've never heard of BPD. Of course you don't. But once you start figuring out what's going on, of course, then the betrayal bond is full-blown, and it's really hard to leave, to get out of there. Or if they just ghost and discard you, what are you going to do? It hurts, like, immeasurably. And I've been through it personally myself. Don't forget that years ago. I understand both sides of this fence here. And I healed and recovered, and I got, better, and I didn't have full-blown BPD anyways, but whatever. And I was labeled with it. And so I went through all that healing and recovery, and I had really severe codependency. And then I had a relationship with a BPD, NPD alcoholic. And I had another cluster B relationship where the person I was dating was cluster B. And I've been ghosted and discarded. And I know what it's like to walk in your shoes. And I remember what it was like to go through that. And even though I broke up with the BPD, NPD alcoholic, I still went through all of that cognitive dissonance. And then what were my own issues as I was realizing and finally getting through them about my own codependency that I still had to work with and deal with, which is like, I don't know, 17, 18 years ago now. I don't remember, like something like that. I've been in your shoes and I know that agony and I know that pain personally. It's really important that you realize that you're going to have to make some really difficult choices for yourself. Lean into the adversity of the hardest choice of the two, which is to not keep recycling or staying in the relationship or accepting the way that you're not being seen or heard, the way you're being treated. Because why do codependents do that? Well, there's many things and reasons you might think why you're doing it. You love this person. They're super who you want to be with. Some people think it's their soulmate, which it isn't. You also have all of this unconscious inner child, family of origin dynamics and interjects inside of you that taught you, unfortunately, from in one way or another. Many people don't know how or what. I have a lot of clients who are like, I don't know. I think my childhood was fine. I don't know. And of course, many more clients, it's like, no, I know it was this, that, and the other thing. And this is what happened in my childhood. And I don't know how to heal and recover from that. And then I talk to even older clients, you know, getting closer to my age or in their 40s, well, 40s, 50s, and then getting closer to my age. And some people, it's just like, I'm too old now to bother with this. And I don't want to think about my childhood anymore. But you know what? That's what people need to do. And yes, it's painful, daunting. A lot of people don't. My inner child, what? I don't want to go back and think about all that. But the thing is, this is what will set you free, knowing more about your own truth. And people with codependency keep thinking that all these reiterations of like getting back together and, you know, whatever is like, you're gonna get it right sooner or later, right? Because you're not really doing that much wrong. The thing that codependents are really doing in these relationships where you are attracted to a person, right? For all kinds of like adult reasons. So, but that's on a conscious, here now, adult plane. But inside of people with codependency, which you need to learn more about, I'm out here to work with you. If I resonate with you, to help you in this process, wherever you are, if you're still with the BPD, if you're on, off, whatever. You don't have to be no contact to start the process of healing and recovery. People with codependency have their own repetition compulsion cycles. And you were taught, and this isn't like you were taught something you needed to know. No. Through not being taught how to relate or having a parent that could relate to you in healthier ways, you end up being sort of programmed and taught that the only way to meet your needs is to first meet like the parent, one of your parents' needs or somebody else in the family. But often people with codependency have been parentified and or infantilized. And so there's things that happen, and it can happen sometimes not because you have a really bad mother or bad father or cluster B parent, although often people with codependency do have at least one. But it's not always that. You could have really severely codependent. You could have a mother that was, or parents that were pretty okay, but emotionally speaking, there were things missing. And something for codependents teaches them very young in childhood or in maybe even in adolescence that you must please other, that you over overcare and think about how everybody else thinks about you to the point where you really don't fully know your own self. So this is what happens. And so how do borderlines and codependents come together? Well, all what BPD is and the brokenness and the woundedness and what they need and how they use people and they just need. And people with codependency, I've learned from so many clients over 33 years, you're not ready to be with somebody who could actually turn around and reciprocate the emotional intimacy and the love that you really, really not only deserve, but super need and want. So it's the brokenness, not the same, but the brokenness of the borderline and the brokenness of the codependent, which is not the exact same brokenness or woundedness or hurt, big woundedness from childhood, okay? On the borderline side, very complicated, deeper, more primal. On the codependent side, different for everybody, but it has led to you not knowing yourself well enough, not having healthy enough boundaries. The faster and the more intense something happens with the borderline, who you don't know is a borderline probably in the beginning, and you get into this great relationship and everything seems so fabulous and all of that, right? You don't know consciously that you are pursuing, in a codependent way, somebody. It's going to be like your mother, father, brother, somebody in your family, sister. You don't know consciously that you're pursuing somebody who's not going to be emotionally available. Somebody who's not going to be able to reciprocate love, like maybe someone in your family of origin didn't, or they're not going to see you or hear you. I have so many clients with codependency that felt invisible in childhood. So how do you come together, codependents and borderlines? Not for the same exact woundedness, but it is the woundedness of childhood and loss of self. In the case of people with BPD, an entire fragmentation off of the child ego state. And in the case of people with codependency, not as severe or total loss of self, but some loss of self. And a bit more strength in the false self, because you're trying to people please. You're trying to get liked and seen and heard by pleasing others first. So that's externalizing out so much and overgiving and ignoring and abandoning yourself, etc., to just try to get back what your inner child is still really struggling for from the past in a here and now way. And so that's what creates these betrayal bonds. It's not a one-sided deal, but I hope you can understand what I'm saying here. I'm not saying it's equal. I don't think these things matter. Is it equal? It's not the same, but in a way it's like there's some similarities that overlap between BPD and codependency. But the point there is, I'm not saying that codependency is BPD or, well, people with BPD have codependency as well. What I'm saying is, it's almost like two opposites with similar childhood woundedness, each looking for something similar from the other that the other can't possibly give. So, to the codependent, unconsciously, looking for a piece or a part of mother or father or something that you didn't get from a parent, not going to get it from the borderline. For the borderline, with that total loss of self and a lot more primal core woundedness and neediness than any codependent alone, they are looking for that reparation, to find self, to find that symbiotic relationship with usually with mother that was never had. Nobody can satiate this, on either side of this. And so people wonder how you end up with a borderline, but they're betrayal bonds, they're trauma bonds, because it's that fit that doesn't fit of the issues from either side that you're just going to kind of like miss each other, because you can't really make a healthy connection amid all the woundedness, primarily the really deeper, more profound woundedness of the borderline, but also more primal woundedness of the borderline, but also a different degree of woundedness. It's not as severe in people with codependency. So let me just say one more time, people with codependency, or if you don't think you relate to codependency just yet, you have learned somewhere in your family of origin and childhood that you need to please the person that you want love from, or people in your life that you want to like you, because this goes on for people with codependency with friendships and in other areas of life to a degree. You've learned that you need to please, and many people with codependency are conflict avoidant, don't know how to deal with conflict, don't have boundaries, don't have assertion skills, and all of this just leads you right into overgiving, overcaring, and getting really hurt in the here and now layers of why you were attracted to that person, and from your past, and unconsciously within your wounded inner child.